Okay. We got two cinematographers on the panel, so I want to pull their take on this question. Here's Aaron Paul talking about why he's on strike.
I don't get a piece from Netflix on Breaking Bad, to be totally honest, and that's insane to me. You know what I mean? Like, shows live forever on these streamers, and it goes through waves, you know. And I mean, I just saw just the other day that Breaking Bad was trending on Netflix. I mean, it's such common sense, and I think a lot of these streamers, they know that they have been getting away with not paying people just fair wage, and now it's time to pony up, and that's just one of the things that we're fighting for.
Okay, let me give my take here real quick, then Vitaly, I'm gonna let you go, then Carlos. I've watched Breaking Bad like 5 times front to back. I love that show. Love Aaron Paul, Jesse. Best show of all time, in my opinion. He sounds like someone who signed a bad deal. He sounds like Scottie Pippen in 94 that can't get out of his deal. At the end of the day, he didn't negotiate equity in the show. He got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode. I think by the latter half of the season, it's probably $1 million of episodes per episode. And he made his money up front. That was a media company that gave him a deal, no different than Michael Jackson buying the Beatles masters. And now when the Beatles get played, Michael Jackson's estate makes money because the Beatles don't own their masters. If you signed a shitty deal because all you cared about was the millions up front, tough luck, buddy. You're going on strike because you signed a shitty deal? I don't really see the logic here. So, Vitaly, I want to hear your perspective, given you're in this business. And does he have a point to be striking?
Yeah, of course. First of all, he's not striking for his. He didn't make the deal, so you got that whole part wrong. If that's not his deal, okay. This is SAG. He signed
a contract for money.
AFTRA. Hold on, no, he's part of SAG. He's part of AFTRA. SAG makes the deals, and in 2008 or whenever this deal was, I don't remember the exact date. They let the streamers basically not pay residuals because the streamers said that they weren't making any money, and this is all an experiment that can fail, and we're losing all this money. It's been 10, 15 years later. The experiment has worked out for certain streamers, of course, not all of them. They're starting to make money in this. We know everything is moving to streaming. So the way actors work is with residuals. SAG signed the bad deal, not Aaron Paul, by the way. This was back in whenever, 2010, 2008. So that's the first point. The second point is that he's striking on behalf of his fellow actors. He's not striking for himself to get more money. He's just giving you an example of what's going on. And I've had this discussion, by the way, on Twitter with people just lambasting me for like supporting actors. Okay. This is the way they make money. Regular actors. I'm not talking about Aaron Paul, who's a multimillionaire. I'm talking about when an actor does a job, he gets paid. You're right. It's $600 or so. The SAG minimum is around $600, maybe $700. I don't know what it is now. So that happens. That's 1 day of work, maybe 2 days of work for a regular actor. And then what? If that actor did talk and was a part of the thing, there's a residual, a very tiny amount that keeps coming to him for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And if that product goes away and nobody watches it, he doesn't get the residual. Okay. But if that product keeps making income, like Netflix is going to keep showing this show and people are going to keep watching it, why shouldn't he get a piece of it? He was an integral part of it. And this is the way the actors make money. It's not like me and you go to a job and we work 5 days a week for 365 days a year. A lot of these actors don't have that. Okay. The residual is how they actually can support kids. And
back really quickly, he was paid a shit ton of money.
Once again, you're sticking on Aaron Paul, but he's there fighting for the other actors who are not Aaron Paul. He's going to be fine. He's fighting for everybody. He's not fighting for himself. You know what I'm saying? He was giving you an example.
So you're saying Netflix should pay a residual to all these actors
they will.
For eternity?
I bet you anything they will. Whenever this gets solved, they will pay a residual. That is exactly what's going to happen.
Hold on. I just want to explain what the problem here is. The problem here is that the original deal that the Actors Union made was at a time when it was very easy to calculate viewership and how much money the residual should be. So in other words, Breaking Bad aired on TV. They know how many commercial breaks they had. They know the ad revenue that was collected, and they know the viewership. So it's very easy to calculate. Well, that episode, when it aired at this time, made this much. And out of that, you get 1%. The problem is that now you have Breaking Bad episodes on Netflix where you're not paid. Netflix is not paid any more or less if someone watches Breaking Bad or not. They're just paid a subscription fee. And this is the problem. You have a subscription fee where you're paying for access to a library, but you're trying to give people residuals on what people watch per month. When if somebody watches all of Breaking Bad in a month, or watches nothing, Netflix makes exactly the same amount of money. The problem is it's going to be very hard for companies like Netflix or the streamers to figure out how much do we give you. Because in other words,
that's silly. Spotify does it all day long.
No, but hold on.
70% of the profits go to music.
But
music
Spotify has
producers.
Spotify has ads.
It's a silly
Spotify,
argument.
Right,
Spotify,
right. No,
Spotify
even the
has
advertising
ads.
revenue also goes to the record labels.
But that's what I'm saying. Spotify has ads. So unless Netflix is sharing, unless there are like ads built into it, built into the viewing of the episodes, it gets very hard when most of their money comes from subscriptions. You have to look at the ad revenue. That's what it comes down to. They have to know that you watching that show, they were able to show you or present you an ad that turned into a sale, or they got paid from an advertiser, and then they can share that revenue. That's what it comes down to. It's always ads, because you cannot. They only make, say, $15 a month from one viewer.
Wait. So Elon wants to
get
get rid of ads, and he wants to share revenue. How's he doing this? It's kind of amazing if he gets rid of all the ads.
He wants to do that. He's not doing that now.
It's a subscription service.
What he wants,
they know exactly what they make.
He
they
wants
know exactly
to do
who's
that
watching
by having
what.
you
They know
pay.
how many people are watching what.
Okay.
This is not hard.
No, but VITALY is right on this. They take a cut from the premium $8 a month, and they split
That's
it up.
what I understand. I understand. They want to, and they want to do that so that they're not leveraged by the advertisers on to what they can and cannot put on the platform. That's the ultimate goal there. Okay, because they could still make money on the ads, but they just don't want to be beholden to them and have what happens on other platforms. Like, there was a big thing with Meta the other day, 250 million. It's nothing, but they lost like 250 million because advertisers are now pushing them to censor certain material, and they're saying, if you don't do this, we're going to pull our ads. And he doesn't want to be held by the same by the same leverage.
So here about Aaron Paul and the whole thing. First of all, Netflix wasn't the original person for Breaking Bad, right? They didn't ask for
AMC.
No,
it was AMC.
AMC. So AMC was the one that negotiated everything on behalf of Breaking Bad, and I think the residuals were getting from AMC. But the thing is, once it moved to streaming, those residuals stopped. Now, the key is, and this is where the transformation of the entire industry is happening, where people are going into the streaming business, and it's the same thing that's happening to Disney, to Paramount, to Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, this is going to sound really fucked up, and I don't know if anyone here knows.
I know what he's going to say. I can feel it. Go ahead.
What am I going to say?
I feel like you're going to say it. Fuck Aaron Paul. This is what happened.
No, not at all. No, what the businesses are doing is taking content completely out of the viewership, which is really bad. So here's what happens. You have this new TV series that comes on, let's say Disney Plus, Hulu, or whatever. Everyone loves it. It's great. Everyone watches it whenever they want. But, viewership eventually dies. Now, here's the thing. If they kept it on Hulu and all this other stuff, you still have to pay residuals. You still have to pay licensing. You still have to keep paying these, things to keep them on there. But what if you took it off the streaming completely, put it on a shelf somewhere, and now use that thing as a loss and say, look, I lost all this money. I'm going to use that as depreciation against my income, right?
Oh, you're saying companies? What, you're saying the streaming companies?
They're all doing that right now.
Yeah. Wouldn't you make money if you took it, because you're licensing it, so you're still it's not on the shelf. It's being licensed. The content.
No. So that's the thing. Once you license it and the license expires, instead of renewing the license, you're just taking it, you're putting it on the shelf. You're not showing it anymore. So there's no residuals because there's no one else watching it, right?
But hold on. In the context of AMC, they keep licensing it to Netflix, so they keep getting money from Netflix.
No, for now. But the thing is, Netflix will eventually say, you know what? Breaking Bad is great, but we don't want it. Put it on the shelf. We don't want it anymore. And so now what happens is that content, unless you go to like a third-party site and you buy the episodes or rent it, that's the only way to really get it. So a lot of these businesses, what they're doing is, let's say you have a movie or a TV series that's made specifically for streaming. They'll stream it for 30 days or whatever, and then they'll take it off completely, or they'll even write off the asset completely and not even show it. And they'll use that as a tax write-off. Like, it's a really crazy thing that's happening in Hollywood right now to save money, where basically if you go to like Disney, if you go to Warner Brothers Discovery, like David Zaslav, do you guys know about this, or am I the only one that's
hold on?
No, but I think, Chris,
before you leave the topic, you're confusing two things.
Yeah, you're
One
confusing me a lot. What's your
if
point?
Netflix, hold on, if Netflix doesn't show this program, there's no problem. Aaron Paul doesn't need to strike about Netflix not paying residuals. As soon as Netflix is showing, or Hulu or whoever, they're showing the show, these actors are going to get residuals. As soon as they do this negotiation, you watch what's going to happen. And you guys might have a different take to this, but I think they're going to win this. And the writers are also striking at the same time. At the end of the day, we want this content, right? I do. Maybe AMIT doesn't want it, but I want good movies and good TV shows and good actors. They're going to make a deal where these guys will be getting their residuals of some sort. I don't know.
No, I agree with you, but
it actually is part of. Okay, the studios came back with a. First of all, this is not going to get solved this year. None of these strikes are going to get solved this year. Some of the execs on the streaming and the studio side have been quoted as saying that their goal is to just starve these people out. There's actually a really famous actor that had to put his house on house for sale because he just can't afford to make payments. So you have to understand that the studios can stay strict longer than the actors can be liquid, and all of the writers can be liquid. So they are going to continue to squeeze them because the subscriber numbers have not gone down as much as they thought. The actors and the writers felt that without any new content, subscriber numbers would go down. Well, you see quarterly reports, they're not going down. So
hold on, to be clear, Carlos, do you think Aaron Paul, yes or no, do you think he deserves a residual when Netflix replays Breaking Bad?
Yes.
Okay,
Chris, what I'm saying is,
Chris, do you think he deserves it too? You think he deserves a residual when Netflix plays it?
No, because he already made.
Okay, so you and me and Chris agree. You and Vitaly.
Oh, no. Hold on. Let me just say,
Aaron Paul did not make the deal. Do not confuse these things.
No. I'm saying, okay. I'm saying Aaron Paul, because of the whole thing with AMC, that was a whole different time. You can't go back and rewrite contracts. That's not how it works. But going forward, these guys are absolutely right, saying that, hey, we need to figure out how to do a TV series where people can actually make a living wage. Here's some major problems that they brought up, which I totally agree with. Before, when you did like a series run, let's say 26 episodes, it will run for half the year. Right. So basically every time that it would play and everything else, you got a good check. You got, the writers would keep getting paid. But now what's happening is everything is released. Like all 8 episodes are released on Netflix. Everyone watches for like a week or 2 weeks.
But then they get paid up front.
You would essentially get the problem.
I don't see what the issue is here.
The problem is that it's very difficult to translate. It's very difficult to parse out the amount of money that a specific streamer made off of a view on a streaming service than it is on television, because on television, it's a blocked out time. You know the viewership, you know the ads. You can tell the company, the Ford, hey, that ad that you put on that Breaking Bad break was shown to 25 million people, let's just say. And that allows them the pricing power to charge more for ads during that program. It's very difficult to parse that out when it's a streaming service. So, I mean, look, just share my screen because I actually posted some of this.
I'm going to share it. And not to mention, not only is it difficult, the business models will die. Spotify hasn't made a profit in 14 years because they can barely take the $10 a month they're getting and split it across all the artists. So the idea that happens in media, that's going to be horrible.
I posted this on Discord. So the studios came back with an offer, and the WGA rejected this offer. So if you look at this, this is the offer that they made them. Let me see if you can see this.
Click on the photo itself. There you go. Perfect.
So
you see that?
Significantly higher compensation.
Carlos is following Coach Strap. He's a Palantir bull, man. I knew he was a Palantir bull. I knew he was a Palantir.
What are you
bull.
talking about?
Closet Palantir.
Always go back to Palantir. All right, look.
By the way, I'm doing Palantir daily streams. They're starting again 9 p.m. Eastern on my channel. All right, go ahead.
All right, so they proposed, this is what the studios proposed to the WGA. The highest wage increase for the WGA in 35 years, a compounded 13% increase, basically $9,800 a week to $11,000 a week, highest budget residuals. Okay, that's what they offered. A new compensation for development. The writers will be guaranteed a minimum of 10 weeks of employment. This is to basically extend the length of time that they would normally work. It also has clause. Here's the AI protections clause. This is where it gets interesting. Artificial GAI produced material is not considered assignment material when determining the writer's compensation. So I don't know if it's just so small. I don't know why we can't see it. So in other words, content that part of what the writers were freaked out about is that the studios would then use AI to supplement some of the writing. What they're saying is that they can't do that, or they have to be upfront about when that's being used, and material that's created by the AI is not monetizable, right? So they can't penalize them for using AI. But then there was another clause in here, which was, to me, the biggest one. Let me see.
So while you're pulling that up, if I'm a studio executive, doesn't it make all the sense in the world that if ChatGPT can get good enough, this large language model, to write a whole script for a show, that I just don't need the writer? I still need the writer to like edit it, but I don't need the writer to originally come up with it, and it still makes good content. Isn't that?
That's the second part of this, and I wasn't going to jump to that just yet, but part of the in the contract that they offered, right, the counter offer that they offered, they said that Netflix, Disney, all these streaming companies would work to provide actual viewership numbers. This is the first step in order to be able to monetize actual viewership numbers, the same way that you have on YouTube, that really granular data of when did a viewer watch, how much did they watch, how long were they there, did they click through, like all of those things. And the fact that if they do offer ads, say 3 ads within the program, the fact that they can send different ads to each person and it's not the same ad means that they should be able to get around the same, if not more, revenue, right? The second level of this is that they will eventually replace all of them. The studios don't like to be told what to do, and as much as, look, studios are a business, they see the products as much as like bricks and shovels and if
it's good content, that's it. They don't care if it's creative or not.
Really, exactly. They are not creative. They are there to make they're there to make money, and they see them monetizing a library. What's the input cost? What's the output cost? That's really all they care about.
That's how YouTube thinks of us. That's it.
That is literally how they think of us. The algorithm doesn't care if our content's good or not. It determines whether we're good or not by what people.
So I want to point out, by the way, the reason you go to Netflix is because they make Squid Games and all of these shows that we all want to watch, and these are great shows with great writers, with great actors. The fact that you're diminishing it in the industry, very sad, by the way, because these are the people that are going to create this content for the next 10 years at least. So the studios will have to make a contract, because ChatGPT is not going to write all their shows right now. It's not happening today.
It's not about writing.
So the contract will be made.
It's not about
protect the writers and the actors, and I'm thankful that is actually happening.
Okay, you're arguing you're arguing a point I'm not making. What I'm saying is, if you don't think that these companies right now are working to eliminate these problem people, whether it's writers or actors, I'm telling you,
100%.
Already,
they are.
They are already working to do. I sent you a video. Maybe I should even just.
No, I agree. The boss will always want to eliminate a worker. That's just the way bosses are.
Absolutely,
that's true, but that's not going to happen in this case. We're going to need these people to still give us everything we actually want to watch for the next decade. Okay?
Do we actually need those people to make the next
telling you,
Squid Game?
I think you're giving. I think you think they're more important in the equation than they are. You really, I'm telling you, the advancements that they're making on
that's an editor working. Okay.
Yes. Because even me, you would think that, say, even me, I understand that you can train a computer to do this stuff, man. I'm telling you, you can. In the same way that Netflix.
Right, I'm not going to argue because
I'll give you
there's a lot of people who aren't in the film industry, and I know I work with the actual directors and producers on set.
Right. This is
You're not going to train a computer to do what goes on there.
Delusions of grandeur.
The talented people that I work with, a computer's not going to come in, and I'm just going to take it.
Wait, but Vitaly, how can you believe in? Hold on, Vitaly, how can you believe in this grandiose metaverse that's going to replace everything, but you can't replace in replacing actors? You can't believe in that.
Look, a lot of these things are going to happen over a long period
of time. But it's going to be 20 years from now.
The way you people make it sound like this is today. Like, this is such a long process. It's going to be absolutely insane how long
I'll show you something.
All right. I think it's more important to talk about one thing real quick. The ad-supported tiers of certain streaming services are becoming way more prevalent. So it's almost like we're going back in time and getting cable TV again. Right now,
that was here's the funniest thing.
Valid point.
The craziest thing that the entertainment business did is convince you that they didn't want you to cut the cord. They absolutely wanted you to cut the cord because now they have access to granular data on how to monetize you further with ads. So they absolutely want this.
And that is the bullish case for Disney, because what's happening is
and commercials
do that. But the thing is, Disney
and the regional banks.
These robots need to be in a REIT somewhere.
Disney raised the prices. Disney raised the prices significantly on their streaming service for their ad-free tier. The reason why is because they realized they were getting a shit ton more ARPU, or average revenue per user, with the free, not the free, but basically the lower cost subscription with targeted advertising. I'm telling you right now, Disney, combined with all of its content libraries with an ad targeted supported tier, their DTC business is going to explode in the next couple of years.
But Chris, I'm really confused on this, because you said you agree that the actors, you agree with Vitaly, they need the residuals. But if you're on the bull case of Disney, shouldn't you be on the side of Carlos, that Bob Iger is trying to milk as much money as possible and not give these guys royalties?
Wait. Hold on. Before you answer that, I just want to clarify what my actual position is. They're going to make a deal, and they have to make a deal, but they're going to squeeze the writers and actors as long as possible. We're not going to see a deal till after the new year. They're going to squeeze them as long as possible so that they can get the best deal possible, and they'll figure out a way to do it. I mean, even them in their counter offer, they offered the data. Here's the data from Netflix that's telling you how many exact people are watching Breaking Bad. Now we just have to negotiate. Well, what's the rate? What's the take rate? How do we do this? And then how long do we, what are the terms? So they're going to have a deal, but on the back end, they are working with ways to replace these people.
The other thing is the studios are trying to get big tech out of streaming. Okay. And the reason why is because big tech can basically sustain losses for a long time. Netflix right now is profitable. They can sustain losses longer than Disney or Paramount or Warner Brothers Discovery. The problem is if you have so much consolidation in the space where the only ones that are left are Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple, you're fucked. Because then try to negotiate with them 5 years from now, you're going to have a way tougher situation to negotiate. So right now, a lot of the studios are saying, look, you need to come to the table with us, make sure that we don't fail. Because if Disney fails, if Paramount fails, and all you're left with is Amazon Prime, the next time you try to negotiate anything, Amazon is going to fuck you hard in the ass. So don't give us such onerous terms that we can't make a buck and survive. That's the other thing that's happening. So right now, there's actually a push by Paramount, by Warner Brothers Discovery, and Disney, and the other independent studios to say, look, if you want to negotiate a private deal with Amazon, that's different. But do not try to use their logic and put them into the same equation. Because right now, Netflix is part of the conversation, but Netflix is just like, hey, we should wait for a better deal. And Netflix is the only one making money. The rest are losing money hand over fist.
So real quick, before I play your video, Carlos, Vitaly, what are your kind of final thoughts on this? What do you think will happen in the next year?
Oh, no, they're going to come up. Look, at the end of the day, Netflix has the reason they're not in pain right now because they have enough content. And I think they make enough for like a year of basically something was always in the can for the next year to play. But after a certain point, to Carlos's point, that they need a deal just as much as the writers. But will they squeeze the writers and actors? Of course they will. Every 10 years, they squeeze them. So this is not a new thing. The AI is not the new thing. They're just it's bosses wanting more money out of a deal. It's the same old story. And eventually they're going to come to the table and there's going to be some sort of a deal where everybody is not happy. That's what's going to happen.
Well, the other part of it is that they will find a way of taking this stuff in-house. So right now, a lot of these are day players. These are people working on a contractual basis, and eventually they'll just bring it all in-house. All of them are working on
that's fine too, but the issue is not that. The issue is
right. But I'm saying, once you have writers and everyone's on staff, and you're basically moving them from show to show, you're a salaried worker. You're out of this residuals thing because you're just a salaried worker with your 401k and your standard. You're a corporate worker at this point.
But first of all, that's fine. By the way, even when I'm working as a cinematographer, if I do get hired for a certain job where they hire me as a W-2 employee and it's 5 days a week and I know I'm getting benefits and I'm getting health insurance, but that does not happen to everyone who's a freelancer. So as soon as that starts happening, cool. They don't need the residuals. They're actually salaried workers.
Oh yeah, they'll bring them in house and they'll make them part of the internal production company, and you'll get moved around. But then the argument always becomes, if you were freelance, this is the constant balance. If you're freelance, you make way more money on the front end than you do. This is why like people that are like the day players get paid so much. This is why those actors or those writers are getting $9,000, $11,000 a week, because they need to make all of their money in 10 weeks and they might be out of work for X number of times. So they have to invest their money properly, and the residuals help carry them over from job to job.
These are not good investors, by the way.
They're not good investors. But I do want to play, just share that video real quick. This is something that up until something like this came out was a very, very expensive process. So what you're seeing is an iPhone being used to capture motion data. So it's mocap. They call it mocap, motion capture. Prior to something like this was a very, very expensive process. I know a guy that does this, and he spent thousands and thousands of dollars on the rigs that you need. You need a special suit that can track the people. You need cameras in 360 degrees to be able to track the people, so you can get the motion capture data that you can then imprint onto a character in 3D. This is now being done with just an iPhone and AI. This replaced a lot. This displaced a lot of people. Now, this is still in its beta, as you can see. It's still in its beta with a single iPhone. But I mean, the detail with which the Apple Face ID can capture your face in order to recognize you as good as, say, a fingerprint is so good that eventually you can actually use that Face ID technology to capture actors' performances like you saw in Avatar or you saw in Lord of the Rings. What I'm saying is the technology is getting so good, and the AI is actually supplementing a lot of what used to be done with traditional hardware, and also that was traditionally someone's job, the role of a person.
Can you bring up Dominguez D, his thing? This is what's actually terrifying, by the way, that if the writers and the actors and all these creative people don't figure out how to, like to Chris's point too, how we can keep the, let's say, conventional business model for them alive, then you have 3 companies that own this, and then they will squeeze the fuck out of everybody, and that's bad for everything. That is not great. That is very bad. Even though I'm an Amazon investor and a Google investor, it's just bad for everybody.
It is sad, but it's the way it's trending. It seems like you can hold it off forever, but it's the way that it's trending. I mean, they have AIs now, and there are rules about how you can use it in terms of AI text to video. Like right now, they don't allow it to create people just yet, because then you could forget it. In an election cycle, that would be a disaster. But eventually they'll figure out a way where you just literally write your script and it will generate the movie. And then you can bring in 1 or 2 people to tweak it at the end, or just use another AI to tweak it at the end. It doesn't seem like, it seems like crazy, because you and I are like the guys that are like, we're doing this every day and we know how hard this is. But the reality is, it was as much of a leap to the people that were working in analog, like tape to tape, or editors that were working cutting film, to have this idea that you could cut and edit movies completely digitally on a computer. It was as big of a leap for them. And it's unfortunate, but this is where we show our age. Like to someone
no, I agree, it's happening.
They completely see this happening. You know?
I just think you forget that everything takes 20 years to play out, and not. So we have some time before we have to really worry about this. But Amazon taking over is much more serious concern.
I don't see how it doesn't go that way, because to Chris and Amit's point, like they just have so much money that they can, again,
they can lose it for as long as they want
and outlast everyone and just take the shit. And then once they become the only game in town, that's what happens.
Well, this is why we should want workers like the actors and writers to win, because they need to keep fighting that good fight,
right?
So we don't suffer 10 years from now.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about the suffering yet, but it will be bad for all of us.
And we were talking about it in the chat, but you're already seeing some of this start to happen in the adult entertainment. A couple of guys made some fake AIs on Reddit and made a fake OnlyFans using AIs, and they got tons of subscribers. And then that AI chatbot can actually respond to everyone individually 24 hours a day, and you can subscribe to basically
guys
have this AI chatbot as like your girlfriend. I mean, think about what this is. So people are now, and then it could generate photos of this AI person in the exact way that you like, or make.
But that's kind of my point. It's like I sympathize so much with Vitaly saying, but the technologist inside of me is like, this thing's not stopping. If they can replicate porn, they're going to replicate Squid Game one day. Maybe it's 10 years from now, but I don't know if we have workers' rights in this context. I don't know if we stop tech for workers' rights.
Well, I'll go so far.
Do you understand? This is why they're striking. That someone has to.
No, I get it.
Someone has to actually stop working and force their hand, because if they didn't force their hand, we know what would happen immediately, right?
But you know what though? But are we? And the question, the 10th man of this, to ask yourself: are you being the Luddite of the 21st century? Are we trying to force people to stick with horses when cars are clearly better at doing this job?
No, no, hold on.
Are we trying to stick with?
We still need the actors and the writers. So you keep assuming you don't need them.
No, you do. No, Vitaly's right. You do, but just maybe not to the extent.
All they want to do is pay them less. Okay, this is what we're talking about. Yes. We want to pay you less.
Okay.
And we want you to work with ChatGPT. Okay. We want you to do those 2 things. Right. And that's cool.
And they don't want you to work with ChatGPT.
And you don't need insurance, because you're going to be okay. Don't worry about that.
But understand, NVIDIA makes GPUs right now that are capable of creating photorealistic environments, indistinguishable from real life. Okay. So why do you need, if you're a studio head, now imagine you're running.
Have you watched an all AI generated movie?
But hold on.
I have. But it's not that good.
Right now, this is what I'm saying.
I agree with you.
Like, I understand that you're like, well, there's the captured image, but if you're a studio head now, you're running the studio, and they're like, look, we can make this movie on a fraction of a budget. If we do it all in CG, it'll look photorealistic, like the first Final Fantasy. It wasn't great, but it showed you where the technology could
CG budgets have $100 million budget.
And you see Avatar. You look at something like Avatar.
$2 billion.
A lot of it was created A lot of it was created in.
That's a good point. Avatar was fucking AI.
Dude, it's one of the
bro.
most
whole
expensive
thing.
movies.
Yeah.
No,
But
but
what happens but the price goes down.
Yeah.
It keeps coming down. Technology gets better and better. It keeps getting down.
not for James Cameron. He keeps.
Well, he's
spending
always
more
going to
money.
spend. Listen, he's always going to spend $2 billion. It's got his minimum, right? But you could argue that $2 billion is less than what it cost.
He spent 460 million on this Avatar.
Oh,
on
it's
Avatar
wait,
2.
I think with the ads, with promoting it, it was
Yeah,
probably
ads
up
always
there.
push it up.
Yeah.